The Diorama. Before he had made it across the parking lot, the sky opened its heavenly urethra and pissed on Martin Taper, raining hot and foul. It pooled in the whack-a-mole potholes of the Price Kingdom shopping center, each puddle a window into a more promising dimension. The Martin that existed in those watery portals was a spy or a superhero or a warrior of the post-apocalyptic wastes, not a lowly clerk facing down a 9-hour shift under the whip of branch manager Ethan Nulby. Martin sighed and raised his eyes to the value pet, his retail tomb that stank not of decay, but of dog paws and cat dander. As he approached the automatic doors, he caught a glimpse of his face in the glass, rainwater pasting his hair into the beaten lines of his brow. The doors gasped open, dry as a pharaoh's curse, and he dragged himself into the hopeless flicker of fluorescence, his feet squeaking out a requiem on the charcoal-flecked linoleum. Nulby was waiting where he always was, by the register closest to the door. He counted that damn register so many times during the day it was a wonder it hadn't learned to count itself. That was to be Martin's whipping post for the next 4 hours, the sun that his desolate solar system was destined to orbit. After that he'd be consigned to the aisles, where he would close out his sentence stocking the shelves with cans of horse meat and bags of stale-smelling kibble. But at least he'd be closer to Allison McCarthy when he was out in the floor, the only bright spot in his otherwise excruciating day. "Hey, tapeworm," Nulby greeted, the opening salvo in today's belittlements. It was a sad act of manifest destiny that a sap with the name Taper would end up a clerk in a store that sold parasite medications, arming the bullying manager with a nickname to wield his ridicule. But Martin took it with his customary good humor, because what was he supposed to do? The world was full of Ethan Nulbys. Martin had endured them all throughout his school years, where his failure to engage with curriculum had doomed him to a lifetime crushed beneath the heels of middle management. It was in those frivolous days of youth that Martin first conceived his diorama, a world all his own that allowed him to live out fantastical dreams, heart-rending romances, and nail-biting, edge-of-your-seat adventures. The diorama was a microcosm untethered to banality, where Martin Taper was authority supreme, and there was no room for a value pet, and no place for a bottom-feeder like Nulby to gain a foothold. It waited back at his apartment, silent under the eaves, ready to salve Martin from the cruelty that the next 8 hours would undoubtedly inflict. "Your accounts were short again last night," Nulby informed him with phony regret, as if not savoring every scrumptious, reprimanding bite. "Why didn't you mention it at the end of the shift?" "Because I did a count again this morning." The exalted branch manager was indignant that a lowly clerk would deign to question his command of protocol. It became clear to Martin that this day was going to be worse than anticipated, a slow, protracted strangulation. "Sorry, Ethan. I'll try to stay focused on my transactions." "See that you do." Nulby's eyes fell hungrily on Allison, who was just coming in the door, her smile soft and deferent. Martin wanted to tear out those eyes and drop them into the python tank where the snakes, mistaking them for mice, would devour them with a pop. 4 hours passed, much as Martin imagined it would at a gulag. He had several returns from belligerent pet owners who claimed Value Pet's cheap, off-brand pet food had, unsurprisingly, made their precious angels sick. His last customer was a 300-pound woman who berated him through quivering jowls while her yipping chihuahua struggled in arms the size of ham hocks. By the time Martin's shift relief arrived, the dog's hysterical, high-pitched bark had been drilled into his head in a torturous loop. He was still hearing the little monster long after its corpulent mommy had stomped out the door like a disgruntled mastodon. Nulby took the cash drawer into the office to count it, and Martin went dutifully into the aisles to finish out his shift. Passing by the grooming center, he
Sample complete. Ready to continue?